Chapter 796. An easy target. Yun Chujio could command these spirit tools and immortal tools to carry out a single attack, but it was not feasible to deal with demonic beasts and humans. Her spiritual sense could not support so many spirit tools to carry out a coordinated attack. However, the giant tsunami turtle did not know that in its heart, Yun Chujio's status was already equal to that of the devil. It made up its mind that in the future, it must be more polite to the little girl. Otherwise, if the little girl commanded these spirit tools to attack it, it would be turned into Swiss cheese. Yun Chujio did not know about the giant tsunami turtle's change in perception of her. At that moment, she concentrated on refining her spiritual power and commanded the spirit tools to attack the barrier. Although she could not see the barrier, according to Yun Chujio's analysis of the speed of the spiritual power consumption, the barrier here was much weaker than the barrier in the ancient sword tomb. Soon, a crack would be formed. Yun Chujio said to the giant tsunami turtle, "Master Godly Turtle, I estimate that in another hour, a crack will be formed in the enchantment. However, your body is huge, so I'm afraid you won't be able to squeeze out through it. How about I put you into the spiritual beast bag for a while and let you out after we break through the barrier? What do you think?" Yun Chujio thought for a while and added, "Don't worry, you can enter my spiritual beast bag without recognizing me as your owner." The giant tsunami turtle hurriedly nodded. Right now, it was very afraid of Yun Chujio, so it did not dare disagree. Besides, what the little girl said made sense. Looking at the area where the spirit tools and immortal tools were attacking, it would not be able to fit through the gap. What the little girl said made a lot of sense. Seeing the giant tsunami turtle nod in agreement, Yun Chujio continued, "Later, when I say it's time to take you in, don't resist. We must make the most of our time." The giant tsunami turtle nodded repeatedly and was extremely obedient. Although Yun Chujio felt it was a little strange, she did not have the mood to think about that at that moment. She focused all her attention on continuing to attack the barrier. An hour later, a sea breeze blew in. Yun Chujio was delighted. "It's time. Get in." Almost instantly, she put the spirit tools and the giant tsunami turtle into her storage ring and the spirit beast bag respectively. Then, she rushed out toward the place where the wind blew in. Yun Chujio almost cried with joy when she saw the occasional school of fish jumping up from the sea. They had got through. They had really escaped this time. Yun Chujio turned her head to look at the area that was surrounded by the array just now, and as expected, it disappeared again. Behind it was the endless sea, and there were occasionally schools of fish jumping out of the water. Yun Chujio thought about it, but she did not immediately release the giant tsunami turtle. It did not eat her inside the array, but it did not mean that it would not eat her now that they had escaped the array. She was not its enemy, but the sea was its home, so it would have an advantage if it tried to attack her. She would release it when she was about to go ashore. The giant tsunami turtle did not know what was happening outside and was unable to communicate with Yun Chujio. Only then did it realize that it had been tricked by the little girl. Did I just make myself an easy target? However, it was too late to regret now. It could only leave things to fate. Yun Chujio summoned the chopping board and wanted to ride on it to leave the area. Unexpectedly, the chopping board still could not fly. Yun Chujio frowned and took out the sound transmission talisman to test it, but it did not work either. What the hell was going on? Could it be that this place was still inside the array formation? Yun Chujio had no choice but to take out the simple wooden raft. After getting on it, she asked the little black bird, "Xiaohei, ask the old bastard if flying spirit tools and talismans also don't work in the area of the sea where it originally lived." "Master," the old bastard nodded. The little black bird said to Yun Chujio through his divine sense. Chapter 797. The endless. Yun Chujio was both happy and worried. She was happy that there seemed to be no array formation here, and she had finally escaped from the sea area that she was trapped in. At the same time, she was worried about the reason that flying spirit tools and talismans were prohibited in this area. What the hell was this place? Yun Chujio suddenly remembered that she had once read about a particular area of sea in the library. There was an endless sea a million li away from the spirit radiance sect. Flying was prohibited in the sky above the endless sea, and talismans could not be used. The demon beasts in the sea were not only diverse but also very fierce. However, the endless sea produced a kind of giant sea clam. Its body would have waterproof beads of different sizes. Although the effect was much worse than waterproof beads, embedding it on equipment would imbue it with certain waterproofing effects. Moreover, a person could hold it in his mouth for 15 minutes without drowning. Because this kind of waterproof bead was only available in the endless sea, it was very expensive. There were often fishermen and cultivators who risked diving into the sea to collect said beads. Yun Chujia's small face twitched. The endless sea, as the name suggested, was infinitely big. Moreover, there were many sea beasts in the endless sea. Her small body would not be able to cope here. She was still worried about letting the old bastard out. It seemed that she could only take things one step at a time. It would be best if she could meet a ship that came to harvest waterproof beads. Even if she could not, she could still find an island to rest on. It had been such a long time since she saw land. She really missed it. Yun Chujio was stunned for a moment. She blinked her eyes and put on the ring that hid her gender. She took out a set of men's clothes from the storage ring and wore it over her clothes. She also changed her hairstyle into a man's hairstyle and decorated her eyebrows and facial features briefly. Now that she had learned her lesson, it was better to dress as a man. Yun Chujio decided to go downstream. That way, she could save her energy and find the right direction. Perhaps because there were a lot of fish in this area, the sea beasts were not lacking in food. Yun Chujio floated on the sea for more than half a day, but there was not a single sea beast that attacked. When it was almost evening, Yun Chujio saw a small island in front of her. It was lush and there should be many plants growing on it. She was very excited, and she could finally get down to earth. An hour later, Yun Chujio approached the small island. Yun Chujio put the raft into her storage ring and then carefully walked onto the beach. In the distance was a dense forest. Yun Chujio tilted her ear to listen for a moment. It was very quiet, and there were no sounds of demon beasts. However, Yun Chujio did not dare enter the dense forest unprepared. On the beach, the field of vision was wide, and it was easy to be on guard. If she entered the dense forest, she would be in an unfamiliar place, and it would be very easy to get lost. Yun Chujio took out her voice transmission talisman and tried it, but it still could not be used. She sighed. It seemed that she could only rely on herself. The gigolo would never dream that she would end up in such a distant, endless sea. Yun Chujio let out the flaming three-tailed fox king and let it disguise itself as a two-tailed scarlet flame fox to stand guard for her. Then, she took out the all-purpose small tent and lay down. She proceeded to sleep and snore the entire night, much to the fox king's annoyance. In those few days, Yun Chujio did not dare to relax for even a moment. Even though she had been on the turtle's back for a few days, she was still on tenterhooks. Who knew when that bastard would turn hostile? When she slept until midnight, the flaming three-tailed fox king suddenly let out a shrilly scream. Yun Chujio was so scared that she jumped up. Chapter 798. A group of giant crabs. Yun Chujio was awakened by the cry of the flaming three-tailed fox king. She saw it pointing its claws to the front in fear. Yun Chujio looked in the direction it was pointing at and could not help but feel her scalp go numb. Hundreds of giant crabs were quickly crawling toward the island from the sea. The pincers of these crabs were more than 3 feet long, were as thick as an adult's thigh and emitted a faint blue light. It was a terrifying sight. Azure giant pincer crab. Tier 8 sea creature. Yun Chujio's head buzzed. She could still deal with 20 to 30 of them, but there were hundreds of them. Even if she released Big Bastard, they might not be able to escape unscathed. Moreover, it did not have the advantage on land. The azure giant pincer crab had already noticed Yun Chujio. They waved their pincers and aggressively crawled toward her. After weighing the pros and cons, Yun Chujio put the flaming three-tailed fox king into her spirit beast pouch and ran toward the dense forest. The azure giant pincer crab followed closely behind. Yun Chujio slowly climbed up a thick tree. After climbing up, she realized that it was a kind of coconut-like tree. There were already many fruits on it. Yun Chujio immediately understood why these azure giant pincer crab would climb up this small island at night. They were here to eat these coconut fruits. When the azure giant pincer crab saw Yun Chujio climb up the coconut tree, a few of them also quickly climbed up the tree. Yun Chujio quickly waved her hand and purple lightning struck at the azure giant pincer crab. The few azure giant pincer crab were caught off guard and were struck by the lightning, falling with a plop. Before Yun Chujio could let out a sigh of relief, she saw more azure giant pincer crab climbing up the tree where she was. Yun Chujio could not help but curse in her heart. Damn it, these azure giant pincer crab were indeed very fierce. They dared to approach even after seeing their companions being struck by lightning. Although Yun Chujio knocked a few of them off the tree, there was still a steady stream climbing up the tree. It was as if they would not stop until they ate Yun Chujio. Fortunately, these blue giant crab pincers were unwilling to topple the coconut tree. Otherwise, Yun Chujio's situation would be even worse. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and used sticky silk to wrap around the trunk of another coconut tree. Then she swung over to it. Just as Yun Chujio heaved a sigh of relief, the other blue giant crab pincers on the ground climbed up the coconut tree where she was. Yun Chujio had no choice but to choose another coconut tree and swing over. After repeating this over and over again, every tree that Yun Chujio went to would be followed by several azure giant pincer crab. Yun Chujio felt that this was not the way to go on. It was still early in the morning, so she had to think of a way. Cling. Just as Yun Chujio was frowning, a mature coconut fell by her on the ground. A few azure giant pincer crab immediately surrounded her and fought for food. Yun Chujio's eyes suddenly lit up. The scene in front of her was very similar to the scene in the desert of the Great Void Mystic Realm. At that time, she used cactus fruits instead. She could try that. Yun Chujio swung onto a new coconut tree again and picked a ripe coconut. She used a large kitchen knife to cut a hole and stuffed a cactus fruit into it. Then, she threw it into the middle of a group of azure giant pincer crabs. Sure enough, the azure giant pincer crab once again snatched the coconut. They were completely unaware of the cactus fruit mixed in it. Not long after, the azure giant pincer crabs seemed to have gone crazy and began to attack their companions with their pincers. Yun Chujio could not help but be secretly happy. Little fellow, you want to eat me? It'll make you kill each other. Chapter 799. Running and chasing. Yun Chujio saw that the cactus fruit was effective against these azure giant pincer crabs, so she swung to another tree and started to make poisonous coconut fruits, throwing them to the ground. After eating the coconut with added ingredients, the crabs not only fought with their own kind on the ground, but also climbed up the tree and fought with the azure giant pincer crab on the tree. After Yun Chujio threw dozens of poisonous coconut fruits, almost half of the azure giant pincer crab bit the dust on the same spot. Yun Chujio rode on the tree branch and was very proud. There was no comparison between those with brains and those without brains. As long as she waited until dawn, these azure giant pincer crab, who were afraid of the scorching sun, would retreat back to the sea and she would be safe. Yun Chujio was obviously happy too early. These azure giant pincer crabs were much smarter than the desert scorpions back then. They soon discovered the reason for their companions' madness and stopped eating the poisonous coconut fruits that Yun Chujio threw down. Instead, they climbed up the tree where Yun Chujio was. Oh my, I didn't expect them to have a brain. Little Geo Thunderbolt. Although Yun Chujio was very happy, she quickly swung to another tree. A new round of escape began again. Yun Chujio ran around the forest. The azure giant pincer crab that ate the poisonous coconut fruits were much stronger than the Tier 3 scorpions. The poison quickly dissipated and they joined in the pursuit of Yun Chujio. In the end, they actually began to divide the work. A few of them were responsible for a tree and had climbed up the tree beforehand, leaving Yun Chujio no place to rest. Yun Chujio could not help but curse in her heart. Damn it! These crabs are becoming more intelligent. What should I do? Run into the sea? The sky is so dark. There must be many demonic beasts in the sea. If I go into the sea, I'd be courting death. Yun Chujio's eyes suddenly lit up. But, although these azure giant pincer crab were smart, they were not as smart as humans. They thought that if she could not move, they would be able to eat her. However, they forgot that if they did that, she would be able to defeat them one by one. There were 5 to 6 azure giant pincer crabs on each tree, so it was a piece of cake for her to deal with them. Yun Chujia's spirit was shaken. She fired a few purple lightning bolts at the few azure giant pincer crabs that were climbing up her tree. Although the shell of those azure giant pincer crab was strong, there was still a gap between them and Yun Chujia's level. They were struck by Yun Chujia's lightning bolts and rolled down. Yun Chujio released the flaming 3-tailed fox and Little Black. She commanded them to shoot fireballs at the azure giant pincer crabs on the ground. The crabs did not expect Yun Chujio to have a backup plan, so they were instantly burned to death. Yun Chujio struck several lightning bolts at the crabs on the other tree. After the azure giant pincer crabs fell to the ground, the flaming 3-tailed fox king and Little Black continued to burn them with fireballs. The azure giant pincer crab did not expect that what they thought was a clever plan would put them in a passive position. They had no choice but to climb down from the tree and attack Yun Chujio again. Yun Chujio saw that the azure giant pincer crabs had changed their strategy. She stopped fighting and continued to move around on the treetop. The crab thought proudly as it ran. This is a strategy that had been tested in practice. The enemy chased, I ran. The enemy attacks and then gets tired, I fight. The enemy retreats, I chase. These stupid crabs still wanted to fight with her. In their dreams. After a few rounds of struggle, the sun rose from the east. Although the azure giant pincer crabs hated it to death, they could only crawl back into the sea dejectedly. Chapter 800. Fooling the big bastard. Yun Chujio heaved a sigh of relief when she saw the azure giant pincer crabs crawling back into the sea. She climbed down from the tree and sat on the beach, panting heavily. After resting for a while, Yun Chujio rubbed her chin and pondered about her next step. She could not stay on this small island any longer. Those azure giant pincer crabs would definitely come back to take revenge tonight. There might even be more of them coming to take revenge together. After all, this small island was akin to their orchard. They would definitely kill her before giving up. Should she continue to drift on the sea? It was still all right during the day, but at night it would be a disaster. Although she had the water-repellent bead, how could she be a match for those aquatic beasts? Yun Chujio thought about it. The only good way now was to release Big Bastard and let it protect her. The Big Bastard was a Tier 13 sea creature. The other sea creatures would definitely not dare to provoke it. However, the problem now was, how could she get it to escort her willingly? The Big Bastard was very proud. Not to mention escorting her, if she let it out, it might turn hostile and eat her. Initially, she used food to curry its favor, but it did not lack food now, so the food strategy was obviously useless. What if she tricked it? Yun Chujio did not have the idea of taking the giant tsunami turtle as her spiritual pet. Firstly, although it was powerful, it was not an immortal beast, so Yun Chujio did not care too much for it. Secondly, the giant tsunami turtle was so powerful that she could not tame it. Yun Chujio thought for a while, then walked to the sea and released the giant tsunami turtle. The giant tsunami turtle was regretful a long time ago. It thought that Yun Chujio would definitely find a chance to kill it, but it was trapped in the spirit beast pouch and could not do anything. Who would have thought that it would be released? Master Godly Turtle, we have escaped. You can leave now. Yun Chujio said with a smile. The turtle was a little confused. That simple? It was being let go just like that? If it had not seen Yun Chujio attack the barrier with her flying sword, it might have swallowed Yun Chujio in one gulp. After all, this little girl had seen its embarrassing side. It was really embarrassing. Now, it was afraid of Yun Chujio and did not dare to think of making an enemy of her. The giant tsunami turtle nodded at Yun Chujio and turned to leave. Yun Chujio was so smart. Before, she did not pay much attention to the changes of the giant tsunami turtle's behavior. Now that she saw the giant tsunami turtle being so obedient, she understood a little and immediately knew what to do next. Yun Chujio sighed faintly and said, "Sigh. Sea creatures are better. They can move freely in the sea. Unlike me, I can only be trapped on this small island. At night, a group of big crabs want to eat me. My life is so bitter. I'm too kind. I could have escaped the enchantment alone, but I still. Sigh, best not to talk about it. Not every turtle knows how to repay kindness. Last night I was afraid that those big crabs would hurt a certain turtle. I fought alone for the whole night. Who would have thought that at dawn, the turtle would go off to enjoy itself? How sad. The giant tsunami turtle was not stupid. It was stunned for a moment before it understood what Yunchujio meant. It hesitated. It was not a kind-hearted creature. Although the little girl had indirectly saved it, it was already grateful that it did not eat her. Was it going to escort her to the shore? It was not worth it. Yunchujio saw that the giant tsunami turtle did not leave immediately. Her heart was filled with joy. There was a possibility. Chapter 801. Riding the bastard to sea. I wouldn't command a turtle for nothing. If a turtle escorts me ashore, I have a lot of healing pills in my storage ring that I can give when the time comes, Yunchujio said. When the giant tsunami turtle heard this, its eyes lit up. Although there were some hemostatic herbs growing on the bottom of the sea, the effect was not very good. It heard that the pills refined by human cultivators were very effective, so it might as well go with the flow and agree to escort the little girl. It would not only stop her blabbering, but it also stands to get some medicine that can stop bleeding. When the giant tsunami turtle thought of that, it howled at Yunchujio a few times, indicating that it agreed to escort her to land. Yunchujio immediately beamed with joy. Don't worry, Master Godly Turtle. I won't mistreat you. In order to show my sincerity, I'll first give you a super-grade blood coagulation pill so you can have a look at its quality. Yunchujio tossed a super-grade blood-clotting pill to the giant tsunami turtle. The turtle sniffed it and immediately smelled a strong medicinal fragrance. The fragrance was different from those from undersea herbs, so it was very satisfied. When a demonic beast reached a certain level, it would evolve and develop a storage space of a certain size. The giant tsunami turtle kept the blood-clotting pill and nodded at Yunchujio, indicating that they could set off. Master Godly Turtle, wait a moment. Those damn crabs tormented me last night. Let me go and harvest all the ripe coconuts so I can infuriate them to death. After saying that, Yunchujio hopped into the dense forest. The giant tsunami turtle's face was stiff. It sounded nice, but she wants to anger the crabs to death? I think you want to eat it. Yunchujio brought the flaming three-tailed fox king, and kept the ripe coconuts into her storage ring. She then looked at the few crabs on the ground that were not burnt. She blinked her eyes. It was said that the taste of these things was very delicious and could not be wasted. Therefore, she kept the few azure giant pincer crabs that were not burnt into the storage ring. Yunchujio struggled for a while before she hopped out. Master Godly Turtle, the coconut juice is really good. Come, have a taste. Yunchujio threw a few large coconuts at the giant tsunami turtle. It had never eaten them before. It imitated Yunchujio and made a hole in it, then it drank the juice inside. It was really tasty. However, these coconuts were too small for the giant tsunami turtle. After eating a few of them, the giant tsunami turtle lost interest. It urged Yunchujio to leave quickly. It could not wait to catch fish to eat. Yunchujio climbed onto the back of the giant tsunami turtle with a smile. She was happy. This was the solution to the big problem. She did not need to row the raft and had a capable bodyguard. It was a great deal. Yunchujio was obviously thinking too simply. After the giant tsunami turtle swam to the deep sea area, it dove into the water and began to hunt some low-level sea creatures. Yunchujio was lying on the back of the turtle happily. She fell into the sea with a plop. She was so angry that she cursed in her heart. Damn it. It's indeed a big bastard. Diving just like that. Did you consider the feelings of the passengers on your back? Yunchujio had no choice but to follow behind the giant tsunami turtle sadly. As she watched the huge creatures start to eat crazily, those low-level sea creatures were considered unlucky. Some of them were swallowed by the giant tsunami turtle before they could even react. Yunchujio watched and felt a little curious. She wanted to test if her little Geo Thunderbolt would work well in the sea, so she picked a Tier 3 red-spotted swordfish and struck it with lightning. After the strike, both the low-level sea creatures and the giant tsunami turtle were dumbfounded. Even Yun Chujio herself was shocked. Chapter 802. How can lightning pivot? Yun Chujio's lightning was like a small purple loach, casually moving toward the red-spotted swordfish. That was right. It was moving. Its speed was slow, like a slow-motion replay, moving bit by bit, making people anxious with anticipation. The giant tsunami turtle curled its lips unkindly. This little girl was very powerful on the surface of the water, but it did not expect her to be so weak in the water. Such a weak little lightning probably would not even kill a Tier 1 sea creature. Yun Chujio was also dumbfounded. Damn it. What the hell was this? Was that the lightning that she struck out? Was that even worthy of being called lightning? It was simply a little loach. No, even the loach swam faster than it. Although the red-spotted swordfish was very disdainful, it still swam to the side quickly. It was not to avoid Yun Chujio's lightning bolt, but to avoid the giant tsunami turtle. While it was in a daze, it quickly fled for its life. However, at that moment, something that shocked everyone happened. The slow purple loach actually pivoted. After pivoting, it still slowly chased after the red-spotted swordfish. The giant tsunami turtle's big eyes were about to pop out. Fuck! How can a lightning bolt turn? Fortunately, it was slow, or else it would have been dead. The red-spotted swordfish was shocked, but it was relieved to see that the little purple loach was still so slow. It continued to swim forward at a fast speed. Although Yun Chujio was surprised that the little purple loach could turn, she was still very disappointed. With its speed, it could not even catch up with a snail, let alone chase after demon beasts in the sea. Just when Yun Chujio was extremely disappointed, the little purple loach suddenly sped up. The red-spotted swordfish was not prepared at all and was instantly struck. Then, it flipped over and died. The little purple lightning disappeared as well, as if nothing had happened. The giant tsunami turtle was dumbfounded. Damn, how does it know how to do this? That little purple loach actually knows how to confuse the enemy? You must be joking. Although this little girl concealed her strength, she's only at the 3rd level of the Spirit Emperor realm. How could her spiritual power manifest spiritual intelligence? This is impossible. The lightning must have been a countercurrent, which was why it moved slowly. Then, it sped up because of another countercurrent. Yes, it must be like that. Yun Chujio could not believe it either. The ice dragon that the gigolo's power transformed into had intelligence and could kill demon beasts on its own. However, the one she used was clearly in the shape of a lightning bolt. Moreover, her spiritual power was so low. How could the lightning have intelligence? It must be a coincidence. She tried again. Thinking of this, Yun Chujio also shot out a lightning toward a Tier 4 swordfin pomfret. The giant tsunami turtles stopped hunting and the sea creatures stopped running. They stared at the purple lightning that was also moving forward slowly. The Tier 4 pomfret had learned its lesson from the swordfish. It swam forward quickly and kept changing directions. The purple lightning accelerated and chased after it. The swordfin pomfret saw the purple lightning bolt chasing after it and swam forward desperately. However, the purple lightning bolt behind it was extremely fast. In just a few seconds, the purple lightning bolt had caught up. The swordfin pomfret died miserably. Chapter 803. A blow to the beast. The giant turtle felt that it could not wrap its brain around the situation. Oh my god, what kind of monster of a human have I met? It's already scary enough that she can command so many spiritual and immortal items at the same time. Why is her lightning so abnormal even when it's in the water? How can beasts continue to live like this? It's really a blow to the beast kind. Yun Chujio was also stunned for a while, and then started laughing arrogantly. Ha! It was only a matter of time before gold would shine. She did not expect her lightning to be so awesome in the water. It was even more powerful than on land. This was pretty much a torpedo. The kind of torpedo that had its own navigation system. When the giant tsunami turtle saw Yun Chujio laugh, it thought of a very important question. Only then did it realize and wonder why this little girl could laugh underwater. If she had a waterproof pearl in her mouth, it was impossible for her to even laugh. Moreover, they had been underwater for a long time. It had been more than 15 minutes. Could it be that she had a water-repellent pearl? Damn, what was this girl's background? Not only did she have so many immortal and spiritual artifacts, but she also had the long-lost water-repellent pearl. At that time, the sea turtle was extremely glad that it did not choose to be Yun Chujia's enemy. This little girl's background was definitely not simple. Perhaps she still had some powerful magic treasures that she had not used. Perhaps she even had a divine artifact. The sea creatures that were eating the melon were stunned for a moment before they scattered and ran in all directions. Damn, that sea turtle was already enough to scare the beasts. Now, there was even a human little pervert. If they did not run immediately, when would they do so? The sea turtle had almost finished eating. It was a little shocked by Yun Chujio, so it did not bother about the low-level sea creatures. It floated up to the surface of the water and gestured for Yun Chujio to sit on its back. Yun Chujio only had one word in her mind: awesome. She originally thought that the sea was her weakness. She did not expect that the lightning would be like a fish in water when it was actually underwater. It actually had intelligence. What a pleasant surprise. She laughed as she thought about it. Hee, those with fire root spirit would be unlucky if they were in the water. The fireball would be extinguished before it's even released. Her heavenly thunder root spirit was still the best. In the next few days, Yun Chujia's life was very comfortable. Other than the giant sea turtle diving into the sea occasionally to look for food, the rest of the time, Yun Chujio was more or less the same as she was on land. If she was not cultivating, she was reading a storybook and was very relaxed. The giant sea turtle was almost akin to being king of the sea. Those sea creatures could not avoid it in time, so they naturally would not go looking for trouble. Therefore, the life of the man and the turtle was not bad. The endless sea was too big. The giant tsunami turtle carried Yun Chujio for 6 days, but it was still a vast expanse, with no end in sight. On that day, Yun Chujio was basking happily in the sun when the giant tsunami turtle suddenly let out a roar. Yun Chujio was shocked and quickly sat up. 2 huge splashes appeared in the distance, and the 2 huge creatures revealed themselves. Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. They were actually 2 Tier 13 bloodthirsty sword sharks. Bloodthirsty sword sharks were brutal by nature, and they liked to hunt high-level sea creatures the most. They probably had their eyes on Big Bastard, and their speed was much faster than Big Bastard's, so it could only accept the challenge. However, even if Big Bastard could defeat one shark in a one-on-one fight, what about the other one? Should Yun Chujio deal with it? Do not joke around. Although her little lightning was a little strange, she could still deal with low to mid-level sea creatures. However, would dealing with a Tier 13 bloodthirsty sword shark not be courting death? Chapter 804. The powerful girl's mistake. Yun Chujio was not confident, but the giant tsunami turtle did not think so. It thought that Yun Chujio was amazing. Even if she could not beat the bloodthirsty sword shark, she could still command spiritual and immortal items to attack the bloodthirsty sword shark. Therefore, when it saw the 2 bloodthirsty sword sharks swimming over quickly, it dove into the sea, rushing toward one of the bloodthirsty sword shark. Yun Chujio fell into the sea with a thud. Then, it saw the turtle rushing toward one of the bloodthirsty sword sharks. What did it mean? Was it really going to let her deal with a shark alone? You big bastard, you're really ambitious. Alright, it's also because I was too pretentious. What should we do now? When the 2 bloodthirsty sword sharks saw the turtle rushing over, they completely ignored Yun Chujio. In their eyes, this human little girl was just a weakling. They could not even be bothered with her. Yun Chujio rubbed her chin. Should she sneak away? This was not right. Putting aside the matter of loyalty, without the big bastard, her journey would be even more dangerous. It was basically impossible for her to go ashore. She still had to help Big Bastard kill or chase away the 2 bloodthirsty sword sharks. Yun Chujio shouted at one of the bloodthirsty sword shark, "Hey! 2 against 1, what kind of fair fight is that? If you have the ability, spar with me." The shark was stunned at first, then it revealed a contemptuous expression. Was this human weakling tired of living? It was more important to kill this giant tsunami turtle first. After eating its inner core, the two of them might evolve. Seeing that the sharks ignored her, Yun Chujio continued to curse, "Hey! Ugly monster with a toad's mouth, don't tell me you don't dare to fight with me?" Toad's mouth? Ugly monster? These two bloodthirsty sword sharks were male and female. The one Yun Chujio provoked was a female. Hearing Yun Chujio say that it was a toad's mouth, she immediately became angry. She gave up on the giant tsunami turtle and pounced on Yun Chujio. She thought that it would not take long before she swallowed this weak human girl. After that, she could help deal with the giant tsunami turtle. Seeing the shark rushing over, Yun Chujio quickly swam to the side. The bloodthirsty sword shark curled its lips disdainfully and sucked the water fiercely. Yun Chujio felt her small body floating uncontrollably into the bloodthirsty sword shark's mouth. Yun Chujio gritted her teeth and waved her hand, sending out several purple lightning bolts, hoping that they could hurt the bloodthirsty sword shark and make it stop sucking the water. Although the bloodthirsty sword shark was a little surprised when it saw Yun Chujio sending out several purple lightning bolts, it did not care too much. What if she had a heavenly thunder root spirit? Such weak lightning bolts would not cause any damage to it. Therefore, the bloodthirsty sword shark continued to swallow water and did not even try to dodge. The purple lightning bolts changed their previous slow and leisurely nature and quickly rushed toward the bloodthirsty sword shark's mouth. The lightning bolts were very fast, and the bloodthirsty sword shark was swallowing water violently. In less than 10 breaths, the small purple lightning bolts had rushed into the mouth of the bloodthirsty sword shark. The small lightning bolts struck toward the upper jaw of the bloodthirsty sword shark. The bloodthirsty sword shark cried out in pain. Not only did it stop swallowing water, it immediately began to roll violently, and the water waves pushed Yun Chujio over 1,000 feet away. Yun Chujio originally wanted to just save the turtle, but she did not expect to accidentally hit the shark. The bloodthirsty sword shark's body was strong, but the skin in its mouth was relatively weak. After being struck by a few small lightning bolts, it still felt an unbearable pain even though serious damage was not done. The turtle saw the bloodthirsty sword shark suffer while it was fighting at the side. It sighed in its heart. It said that this human girl was not simple. Look, the bloodthirsty sword shark suffered a loss in just one exchange. This girl was really too awesome. Chapter 805. How to Make a Turn. Yun Chujio was not as optimistic as the giant tsunami turtle. It was just a fluke. As long as she could delay until the giant tsunami turtle killed the other bloodthirsty sword shark, it would be fine. The bloodthirsty sword shark rolled a few times before the pain in its upper jaw slightly eased. It fiercely shot hundreds of water arrows at Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio suddenly sank, and the water arrows flew over her head. The bloodthirsty sword shark opened its mouth, and hundreds of water arrows flew over. Yun Chujio had no choice but to dodge the water arrows. While Yun Chujio dodged, she shot out several small purple lightning bolts. When the bloodthirsty sword shark saw that Yun Chujio's purple lightning bolts were not coming in its direction, it could not help but despise her. It was just because it did not pay attention that it suffered a little loss. This time, the lightning bolts were not coming in its direction. Did she think that these small lightning bolts would turn? Next, the small lightning bolts used their actions to show the bloodthirsty sword shark that they could, in fact, turn, and that they were very agile. The bloodthirsty sword shark looked at the purple lightning bolts with a dumbfounded expression. They actually turned and charged toward it. What's going on? How did this weak human lightning bolt turn around? This doesn't make sense. The bloodthirsty sword shark quickly shut its mouth, afraid that the small purple lightning bolts would enter its mouth again. However, it never expected that a few small lightning bolts would charge toward its eyes and nose. The bloodthirsty sword shark quickly retreated and spat out several water arrows to intercept the small purple lightning bolts midway. Although the purple lightning had some intelligence, it was not enough to last for too long. After being intercepted by the water arrows, it dissipated into the water. At that time, Yun Chujio sent a few more purple lightning bolts over, and the bloodthirsty sword shark fired a few water arrows at the purple lightning bolts. Although the purple lightning bolts could turn around, there were too many water arrows, so the purple lightning bolts had almost depleted their spiritual power before they could reach the bloodthirsty sword shark. After the bloodthirsty sword shark recovered from its shock, it sneered in its heart. Although the purple lightning bolt was a little strange, it had already found a way to break it. Let's see what else you can do. The bloodthirsty sword shark shot out a few more water arrows at Yunchujio. At that moment, the bloodthirsty sword shark was on top while Yunchujio was below it. Yunchujio would be hit by the water arrows no matter how much she sank, so she could only dodge to the side. However, her swimming speed was not as fast as the water arrows, and there were more than 10 water arrows shot at Yunchujio. Fortunately, Yunchujio had a defensive spirit tool on her. A few pieces broke, saving Yunchujio's little life. Although Yunchujio used the small purple lightning to restrain a part of the bloodthirsty sword shark's energy, the difference in spiritual power was too big. Moreover, they were under the sea, so Yunchujio's movements were not that flexible. Very soon, Yunchujio's defensive spiritual tool was almost depleted. Yunchujio thought to herself that this could not go on. The number of defensive spiritual tools on her was limited. Sooner or later, she would not be able to hold on. Although there were many defensive spiritual tools from the ancient sword tomb in her storage ring, it was too late for them to recognize her as their master. Moreover, her spiritual sense could no longer hold more spiritual tools. What should she do? At that moment, Yunchujio saw a squid fleeing in all directions at the bottom of the sea. A thought flashed through her mind, and she took out a large bottle of ink and poured it out. Immediately, the sea water turned pitch black. Chapter 806, Little Girl, you made me suffer so much. The bloodthirsty sword shark did not expect Yunchujio to use such a wicked method. Yunchujio's silhouette could not be seen in the dark water. Yunchujio was not idle at this time. She waved several purple lightning bolts to restrain the bloodthirsty sword shark while desperately searching for something that could be stained in her storage ring. She only had this one bottle of ink. This was because Di Biming often asked her to write a self-reflection letter and the guarantee letter. Usually, she would use a charcoal pen. If she had known this would happen, she would definitely have prepared a few vats of ink. Yunchujio was extremely anxious. Fortunately, Furry took out a few bottles and jars from the Great Void Mystic Realm. Master, these are the ones that I prepared to dye, glue, and knit sweaters. You can use them first. They'll continue to produce black liquid for you now. Yunchujio was overjoyed. She quickly sprinkled a few more bottles of dye before the black ink dissipated. The seawater instantly turned into a sea of colorful colors. The bloodthirsty sword shark was furious. Humans were cunning and always liked to play sinister tricks. It was really detestable. It could only spray the water arrows randomly. It did not dare to get too close to the dying areas, afraid that Yunchujio's little lightning would sneak up on it. Yunchujio relied on Fui's dye to delay for another hour. However, Fui's movements were not that fast, so it was impossible to produce so much dye. Yunchujio was once again exposed to the bloodthirsty sword shark's sight. The bloodthirsty sword shark smugly shot hundreds of water arrows at Yunchujio. You little weakling, let's see what else you can do this time. Yunchujio had no other choice but to use offense as a defense. She summoned 5 immortal swords and commanded them to attack the bloodthirsty sword shark. Although the 3 immortal swords were reluctant, they could not resist. They could only brace themselves and thrust at the bloodthirsty sword shark. Seeing that Yunchujio was commanding 5 flying swords at the same time, the bloodthirsty sword shark could not help but be a little surprised. It knew that the 5 swords weren't low-grade, so it did not dare to just ignore them. While dodging, it shot out water arrows, hoping to block them. Attacking sea creatures was different from attacking barriers. Yunchujio was already at the limit of her soul's consciousness when commanding 5 flying swords at the same time. Not only did these 5 flying swords have to attack the bloodthirsty sword shark, but they also had to dodge the water arrows shot out by the bloodthirsty sword shark. Thus, it was very taxing on her soul's consciousness. Yunchujio relied on the 5 immortal swords to fight with the bloodthirsty sword shark for another 15 minutes. Gradually, her soul's consciousness could not resist it, so she had no choice but to take back the 5 immortal swords. At that time, Furry took out another bottle of dye. Yun Chujio hurriedly sprinkled it in the water, and only then was she able to catch her breath for a moment. Yun Chujio's brain was operating at a rapid speed. It was likely that the outcome between Big Bastard and the other bloodthirsty sword shark would not be decided within a short period of time. Right now, whether it was spiritual power or spiritual sense, she was close to being overdrawn. If she did not think of another way, she was afraid that she would be finished. Before Yun Chujio could think of any other way, the bloodthirsty sword shark had actually quietly rushed to the nearby area. With a fierce breath, Yun Chujio's body could not help but be sucked into the bloodthirsty sword shark's mouth. The turtle and the other bloodthirsty sword shark were also fighting nearby. When it suddenly saw that Yun Chujio was swallowed by the bloodthirsty sword shark, it was so scared that its heart trembled. It was finished. The little girl was eaten. Fuck. How could this be? Was this little girl not very awesome? How could she be swallowed? Even if she died, it would still be finished. It was not a match for these two bloodthirsty sword sharks. Little girl, you tricked me so hard. If I knew that you were so useless, I would have thought of a way to escape. Why would I fight head-on with them? Chapter 807. A ship arrives just as the giant tsunami turtle was feeling vexed. It saw the bloodthirsty sword shark rolling violently as if it was in extreme pain. The giant tsunami turtle was dumbfounded. Damn, could it be that the little girl's meat was poisonous, and the bloodthirsty sword shark's stomach is upset after eating it? The bloodthirsty sword shark opened its mouth wide, as if it wanted to spit something out, but it had no effect. Instead, fresh blood flowed out, dyeing the seawater red. The giant tsunami turtle was delighted. Damn, could it be that little girl's doing? Did she run into the bloodthirsty sword shark's stomach and terrorize it? At that moment, Yun Chujio was holding a large kitchen knife and hacking at the bloodthirsty sword shark's mouth. Just now, at the moment when she was sucked into the shark's mouth, Yun Chujio used sticky threads to fix herself on the bloodthirsty sword shark's upper jaw. She also made the rolling pin grow longer to keep the bloodthirsty sword shark's mouth open, as she did not want to suffocate to death. Yun Chujio realized that she was moving too slow with the kitchen knife, so she ordered the 5 immortal swords to stab at the shark's upper jaw. It was much easier than commanding it to fight the enemy. "I'll stab you. I'll stab you. Still. You still want to eat me? I'll kill you." Yun Chujio commanded the 5 immortal swords to stab at the shark's upper jaw, and she shot out several purple lightning bolts. Those purple lightning bolts rushed toward the shark's abdomen. The bloodthirsty sword shark was really unlucky. Being stabbed in the upper jaw was only a physical pain, but those small lightning bolts had taken its life. Those small lightning bolts struck toward the bloodthirsty sword shark's internal organs. No matter how strong the bloodthirsty sword shark was, it could not stand being struck by the lightning bolts, and it kept rolling violently. The other bloodthirsty sword shark wanted to go over to help when it saw this, but the turtle blocked it with a roar. It seemed that the little girl had succeeded. It could not let her look down on it. It had to kill this bloodthirsty sword shark. An hour later, the bloodthirsty sword shark that had swallowed Yun Chujio was dead. Yun Chujio then slowly swam out of the mouth of the bloodthirsty sword shark. She put the body of the bloodthirsty sword shark into her storage ring and then helped the giant tsunami turtle to deal with the other bloodthirsty sword shark. The bloodthirsty sword shark was no match for the giant tsunami turtle. When it saw that its companion was dead, it became even more flustered. In less than 15 minutes, it was bitten to death by the giant tsunami turtle. The giant tsunami turtle swallowed the inner core of the bloodthirsty sword shark and then cried a few times at Yun Chujio in a fawning manner. Yun Chujio, the foodie, immediately understood what the giant tsunami turtle meant. "Master Godly Turtle, do you want me to help you collect the corpse of the bloodthirsty sword shark and take it out when you want to eat it?" The giant tsunami turtle nodded vigorously. Damn, this little girl was really smart. That was exactly what it meant. Seeing the giant tsunami turtle nod, Yun Chujio put the body of the bloodthirsty sword shark into her storage ring. Then she and the turtle emerged from the water. After such a fierce battle, the man and the turtle had more trust in each other, so the rest of the journey was particularly smooth. Yun Chujio sat on the back of the turtle and saw a big ship from afar. She was pleasantly surprised. After such a long time, she finally saw a human. "Master Godly Turtle, let's part ways here. Keep these blood coagulation pills. I'll come and play with you again when I have the chance," Yun Chujio said as she took out several bottles of blood coagulation pills and threw them at the giant tsunami turtle. Although the giant tsunami turtle was a little reluctant to part with them, when it thought about how it could continue to live as an overlord from now on, it immediately pushed the reluctance to the back of its mind, dove into the sea and left. Chapter 808. I know how to cook, damn it. It is indeed a heartless bastard. It left just like that. Yun Chujio, who had fallen into the sea, muttered as she swam toward the direction of the big ship. Yun Chujio estimated that the distance was close enough. Only then did she emerge from the water. She waved her arms and shouted, "Help! Help!" The big ship soon arrived in front of Yun Chujio. A rope was thrown down from the ship. Yun Chujio grabbed the rope and was dragged onto the big ship. "Thank you. Thank you. I will never forget the kindness of saving my life." After Yun Chujio was dragged onto the ship, she bowed and thanked everyone. "Kid, you don't have to be so polite. After all, there are conditions for us to save you," a sinister voice said. Yun Chujio was busy thanking them just now and did not carefully examine the people on the ship. When she heard someone say this, she could not help but raise her head and see dozens of people standing in front of her. The person who was talking to her was a middle-aged man in a black attire. The lower left corner of the suit was embroidered with a striking white fish bone. Yun Chujio had a bad premonition. She heard that in the endless sea, other than the dangerous sea creatures, there were also some pirates who specialized in robbing cultivators who collected waterproof beads. Could it be that she had encountered pirates? If that was really the case, she would be in trouble. Even if she could escape, how could she reach the shore now that big bastard was gone? Yun Chujio said in a cowardly manner, "Savior, what do you mean by that? I don't quite understand." The middle-aged man laughed wildly. "You don't understand? You really are a little bastard. We're from the Fishbone Gang, and we specialize in killing people and stealing treasures. We saved you for the storage bag on your body. Your corpse can also be used as bait to fish for some sea creatures. Isn't that killing two birds with one stone? Ha!" Yun Chujio pretended to be afraid and started trembling. However, her eyes swept across everyone's strength. Those who were able to become pirates in the endless sea were not weak. Most of these people were above the 5th level of the Spirit Cultivator realm. There were also 5 people at the level of the Spirit Emperor. Yun Chujio estimated that if they were on land, she and Little Black could fight with them together. However, they were on the ship now, and it was their territory. It was better to be safe. Should she jump into the sea? If she jumped into the sea, they would definitely not be able to catch her again. However, without the big bastard, it would be difficult for her to reach the shore. She might as well take the ship and leave a few people alive so that they could send her to the shore. Yes, that was the plan. Leader. To be honest, the reason why I fell into the sea was because I was robbed. Now, I have nothing on me. However, I am also a 5th level spirit cultivator. If you don't mind, take me as your subordinate. I don't have any other skills, but my cooking skills are still very good, Yun Chujio said while trembling. The middle-aged man sized up Yun Chujio and thought to himself that this little bastard was so scared that he was trembling, so he was probably not lying. Alright, I'll give you a chance. Prepare lunch for me immediately. If I'm satisfied with the food, I'll keep you. If not, I'll kill you immediately to be bait. Yun Chujio nodded excitedly. I'll definitely cook well. I'll definitely make sure you're satisfied with your meal. Bring him to the kitchen. Keep an eye on him. If he tries to trick you, just kill him. Yes. Yun Chujio was brought to the kitchen by 2 pirates. The kitchen was a mess. Apparently, these pirates only needed to fill their stomachs and did not bother cooking at all. Yun Chujio had a slight chance of winning. Although her culinary skills were average, it was more than enough to deal with these pirates. As long as she put in some effort, she did not have to worry about not being able to stay. Chapter 809. The target of the robbery. In less than 2 hours, Yun Chujio not only prepared a few exquisite side dishes for the pirate leader, but she also prepared the meals for the pirates. Little brat, your hands and feet are quite agile. I just don't know whether this tastes good. The pirate leader saw that the dishes looked good and developed some appetite. After eating, the leader of the pirates and the other pirates were very satisfied. In the past, when they ate at sea, they would always just mix ingredients together. It was already good if they cooked it. They did not care about the taste at all. Therefore, even if Yun Chujio's cooking skills were not particularly good, in their eyes, it was very good. Not bad. Since you have this skill, I'll accept you. What did you say your name was? Shirling? It's too difficult to pronounce. I'll call you Little Stone from now on. Learn from me well, and the things you'll learn will be irreplaceable. If I find out that you've tampered with the food, I'll chop you into minced meat. The pirate leader said fiercely. Thank you, sect leader. Thank you, sect leader. I'll definitely be loyal to you. If I lie, I'll be struck by lightning. Yun Chujio swore without any guilt. These pirates did not know that the person in front of them was a repeat offender of being struck by lightning. Once they heard her swear, their wariness was lowered a little. However, every time Yun Chujio cooked, there would be 1 or 2 pirates watching from the side to prevent her from pulling anything. Yun Chujio had a sweet mouth and knew how to cause trouble. In less than 3 days, she had gotten familiar with the people on the ship and inadvertently figured out most of the things that she needed to know. Pirates were rampant in the endless sea. There were dozens of forces of all sizes. The Fishbone Gang could be considered famous among them, and they were doing quite well. There was a small city called Wanghai City on the beach of the Endless Sea. There was a trading firm called Yongxing Trading Company, which specialized in the trade of waterproof beads and sea creatures. This Yongxing Trading Company not only bought all kinds of sea goods, but also went out to sea regularly to hunt and collect waterproof beads. This time, the Fishbone Gang came for the ships of the Yongxing Trading Company. In fact, the pirates were not willing to offend the Yongxing Trading Company. After all, their strength was not weak. However, the Fishbone Gang was forced to take a risk this time. For some unknown reason, the small island where the Fishbone Gang was located actually sank to the bottom of the sea. This group of pirates had no home to return to. It was not easy for them to find a small island that was unoccupied, but to build houses and fortifications, they needed spirit stones. Robbing those small merchant ships was simply a drop in the bucket, so they could only set their sights on the Yongxing Trading Company. Yun Chujio's heart stirred. This was an opportunity. When the time came, she would make a move and help the Yongxing Trading Company capture this group of pirates. When the time came, she could take the Yongxing Trading Company's cargo ship to Wanghai City. After Yun Chujio made up her mind, she became a chef. Every day, she would chat with those pirates. She was like a fish in water. After getting familiar with them, Yun Chujio realized that these pirates were actually not that bad. Sometimes, when they met some fishermen's fishing boats, they did not rob them. Occasionally, they would be kind and help them out. Uncle Wang, I realized that our Fishbone Gang is not quite the same as the pirates in my impression, Yun Chujio said to a short and fat man. Fatty Wang used to be a part-time cook on the boat. Naturally, the responsibility of monitoring Yun Chujio fell on him. When he heard Yun Chujio say this, he was stunned and sighed. Don't judge our leader as a fierce person. In fact, he's not a bad person. I heard that our ancestors also relied on collecting waterproof beads for a living, so we rarely rob fishermen. Yun Chujio's mouth twitched in her heart. Forget it. A bullshit person is not a bad person. Back then, he even wanted to use her as bait. Chapter 810. Return to Crab Island. Little Stone, do you still hate the fact that the gang leader wanted to kill you back then to be bait? This so-called precaution must be taken. It's not easy to muddle along in this endless sea. If we don't scare you, who knows if you're a traitor from some faction. I wouldn't say anything about which pirate gang is better than the other. However, our Fishbone Gang never massacred fishermen indiscriminately, much less plundering women like other pirates. We basically have no other way to live, so we choose to be pirates. Who would be willing to float on the sea all day doing this kind of life-risking business? Uncle Wong, I'm a foreigner, so I don't know much about the endless sea. Didn't you say that waterproof beads are very valuable? Your spiritual power is not low, so why don't you just collect the waterproof beads and sell them? Yun Chujio asked in confusion. Humph. The waterproof beads might be very expensive to sell, but the business of purchasing the waterproof beads was monopolized by the Yongxing Trading Company. They didn't allow fishermen to sell them to others. They bought them at a very low price and then sold them to earn a lot of money. Those fishermen couldn't earn much money even if they worked hard. If they found out that any fisherman was trading with outsiders, they would immediately kill their entire family and say that they're pirates. That Yongxing Trading Company is even crueler than us. Fatty Wong said angrily. Yun Chujio was skeptical after hearing that. Why was this endless sea different from other places? Pirates were even kinder than merchants? If Yongxing Trading Company was really like what Fatty Wong said, then her plan had to be changed. She could not help the devil. Uncle Wong, where is the Yongxing Trading Company's ship? We haven't seen any trace of them here, have we? Yun Chujio asked curiously. I heard that the place they are going to is not far from Crab Island. Let's set up an ambush nearby and then ambush them. Crab Island? There's such an island? Could it be that the island is shaped like a crab? Yun Chujio could not help but feel a little dumbfounded. Crab Island? Fuck. It can't be that island full of coconut trees that I left back then, right? Ha! Your imagination is pretty good, kid. There are huge coconut trees growing on Crab Island. The giant pincer crab likes to eat ripe coconut fruits. At night, it will go ashore to search for food, so it's called Crab Island. When Yun Chujio heard that, she was stunned. It was not easy for her to ride the big bastard and leave the so-called Crab Island. Now, she was going back again. In the next few days, the pirate ship was indeed heading toward the small island that was covered with coconut trees. Although Yun Chujio was so depressed that she wanted to vomit blood, she could only follow them back to where she came from. After interacting with her for the past few days, the members of the Fishbone Gang had basically let down their guard against Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio realized that other than a few of them who were extremely lazy, there were really no evil people among them. It seemed that they were only reacting according to the circumstances. If that Yongxing Trading Company was not a good company, then she could help the Fishbone Gang. A few days later, the Fishbone Gang's ship arrived near Crab Island. Since they knew the dangers of Crab Island, they did not go on the island. Instead, they waited nearby for the arrival of the Yongxing Trading Company's ship. Gang leader, I heard that the Yongxing Trading Company is going to the sea area ahead. It is said that there are very few giant sea clams that produce waterproof beads, and there are also very few high-level sea creatures. What are they going there for? A pirate asked the Fishbone Gang's gang leader in confusion. Do whatever you want. Let's just rob them. I heard that the people who came this time are all the thugs of the Yongxing Trading Company. They must have a lot of spirit stones on them. Anyway, they're not good people. Just kill them. The leader of the Fishbone Gang said coldly. Chapter 8:11 Hidden Secrets. The Fishbone Gang's big ship docked at the back of Crab Island. During the day, they sent a few pirates to investigate Crab Island. At night, the big ship sailed to the surface of the sea and carefully looked out for any news of Yongxing Trading Company activity. When it was almost noon that day, a few pirates excitedly returned. Boss, the Yongxing Trading Company's merchant ship is heading to the sea ahead. The Fishbone Gang leader sneered. Good. The trap is set and the fish has taken the bait. Everyone rest well. We'll set off after dark. After dinner, when the sky gradually darkened, the Fishbone Gang's large ship set off. The expressions on the faces of everyone in the Fishbone Gang were very conflicted. There was an anticipation for the potential spoils of war mixed with anxiety of the unknown. The guards of the Yongxing Trading Company were not pushovers. Their spirit energy was not low, especially when those commanders were all at the level of a spirit emperor. However, they did not know how many people had traveled on the ship this time. It would be fine if there were fewer people, but if there were more people, then the odds were against them. When it was almost midnight, everyone saw the cargo ship of the Yongxing Trading Company in the distance. The ship was brightly lit, and people were constantly diving in the nearby waters. Boss, could it be that they are collecting waterproof beads? Didn't they say that there are no waterproof beads in this area? One of the pirates looked at the divers and asked in puzzlement. Could it be that they are looking for your treasure? Boss, could there be some treasure buried here? The pirate said excitedly. Yu Hai, the leader of the fishbone gang, rubbed his chin, then said in a low voice, Lower your voice. What you said made sense. There were very few demon beasts in this area, and there were no sea clams. The Yongxing Trading Company might really be looking for some treasure here. Let's wait and see if they find anything. No one is to make a sound or light up any lamps. Yun Chujia's little heart was beating nonstop. The place where the Yongxing Trading Company's ship stopped was precisely the place where she had escaped from the enchantment. Why would the people of the Yongxing Trading Company be looking for something there? Could it be a coincidence? That's right, the place where she was trapped would not have set up an enchantment for no reason. There must be some secret hidden in there, and it was connected to the ancient sword tomb. It must be something big. Yun Chujio poked her head out, her eyes shining as she stared at the Yongxing Trading Company's ship. If those people were really looking for something under the barrier, perhaps she could follow the clues and find the culprit behind the abnormality in the ancient sword tomb. For hours later, they heard cheers coming from the Yongxing Trading Company's ship. Because they were afraid of being discovered, the fishbone gang's ship was anchored far away, so they did not see what they had fished out from the bottom of the sea. Yu Hai, the leader of the fishbone gang, waved his hand. Go! Let's catch them off guard. Following Yu Hai's command, the large ship rushed toward the Yongxing Trading Company's ship. The people of the Yongxing Trading Company quickly noticed the fishbone gang's ship approaching. They were clearly well-trained and immediately went into battle mode. So, isn't that great, Leader Yu Hai? Why have you thought it through? Do you want to join our Yongxing Trading Company? Shan Yanghu said with a fake smile. Yu Hai sneered, Join the Yongxing Trading Company? Your reputation isn't as good as that of us pirates. I don't want to be stabbed in the back and work like a dog for others. Yu Hai, don't be so shameless. Our boss only loves you because you're talented. That's why he has invited you over and over again. Otherwise, do you really think that you're that special? Since you're not here to join us, it means you're here to find trouble. With so few people with you, you actually dare to plot against the Yongxing Trading Company? You're sailing to your death. Shan Yanghu said savagely. Chapter 8:12. Ship collision. Yun Chujio swept a glance at the people on the Yongxing Trading Company's ship. She counted almost twice as many people as the fishbone gang. There were 10 people of the Spirit Emperor realm, and that goatee had actually reached the 4th level of the Spirit Emperor realm. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes. Taking advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention, she stealthily dived into the water. Everyone was fixated on the Yongxing Trading Company ship. No one noticed that she had sneaked away. The members of the fishbone gang had not expected so many people aboard the Yongxing Trading Company ship. 10 commanders had accompanied the ship, and they were somewhat hesitant to attack. Yu Hai also had the intention to retreat upon seeing what they were up against. He sneered and said, See Tuji, we are only passing by. Farewell. Upon saying that, Yu Hai waved his hand, indicating for the fishbone gang's ship to leave immediately. You're leaving? Just stay since you're already here. Everyone, this is no small matter. Not a single one should be spared. Kill them all. Ordered Situji. He was originally jealous of Yu Hai's talent, so he naturally would not let go of this opportunity to exterminate the fishbone gang. Following Situji's words, the people of Yongxing Trading Company jumped onto the fishbone gang's ship one after another and surrounded everyone on the deck. Situji laughed wildly. Yu Hai, you're done for. Originally, our boss wanted to let you live a little longer, but who would have thought that today, you actually took the initiative to deliver yourself to our door. Situji, let them go. I agree to join Yongxing Trading Company. At that moment, Yu Hai regretted his decisions. He never expected that there would actually be so many people protecting the Yongxing Trading Company ship. Humph. You think too highly of yourself. It's too late. None of you are leaving alive. Kill them all. After C2G finished speaking, he took the lead and struck Yu-Hai with his palm. After Yu-Hai dodged, the two of them fought. The members of the Fishbone Gang naturally would not sit still and wait for their deaths. They drew their weapons and engaged in a chaotic battle with the people from the Yongxing Trading Company. There was a huge difference in the number of people on both sides. Very quickly, the members of the Fishbone Gang fell into a disadvantageous position. Yu-Hai's body was also covered in wounds. C2G laughed out loud. From today onwards, the Fishbone Gang will be wiped out. All of you die. Just as C2G was feeling pleased with himself, a guard shouted in panic, "Commander! The ship! Our ship!" C2G raised his head and saw the huge ship of the Yongxing Trading Company quickly colliding with the Fishbone Gang's ship. Although the Fishbone Gang's ship was also very big, it was still much smaller than the Yongxing Trading Company's ship. Under the violent collision, the Fishbone Gang's ship began to shake violently. They could no longer stand up properly, much less continue fighting. C2G was furious. "Stop. Zhao Wu, are you fucking crazy?" The Zhao Wu that C2G scolded was the person driving the Yongxing Trading Company's large ship. At this moment, Zhao Wu was in a difficult situation that prevented him from speaking. Yun Chujia's large kitchen knife was pressed against his neck. He did not dare to disobey. It turned out that after Yun Chujio dove into the water, she saw that most of the people from the Yongxing Trading Company had already boarded the Fishbone Gang's ship. She then quietly boarded the Yongxing Trading Company's ship. After she quickly took care of the few guards left behind, he found the cockpit and used her knife to force Zhao Wu to ram the ship into the Fishbone Gang's ship. Before C2Z's voice faded, the Fishbone Gang's ship was knocked over, and the people on the deck fell into the water one after another. Although the people of the Yongxing Trading Company had high spiritual power, their fighting strength in the water was greatly reduced. On the contrary, the people of the Fishbone Gang had spent most of their time in the sea, which made up for the disadvantage of having fewer people. C2G felt that he would lose the advantage with his current situation, so he had to get back on board the boat first. Thus, he gestured to the people of the Yongxing Trading Company to quickly get out of the water with him. Chapter 8:13. This did not make sense. Yun Chujio saw that the Fishbone Gang's ship had capsized, so she ordered Zhao Wu to quickly leave the ship. Zhao Wu did not dare to disobey, so he had no choice but to do as she said. "What did you find at the bottom of the sea?" Yun Chujio asked Zhao Wu as she observed the situation in the sea through the telescope. "It's just a sheepskin scroll. Young hero, they'll tell you everything you want to know. Please don't kill me," Zhao Wu said in a trembling voice. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and took out a pill from her storage ring. She stuffed it into the man's mouth. "This is my secret poison. Only I have the antidote. If you don't take the antidote within 3 days, your whole body will fester and die." Zhao Wu repeatedly promised. "Young hero, I'll listen to you. What else do you want to know? I'll tell you everything. Who has the sheepskin scroll? Is it with that goateed man?" "Yes. That's our commander-in-chief. He kept the sheepskin scroll in his storage ring." "How did you know that there was a sheepskin scroll here? How did you find it?" "Young hero, I'm only a merchant ship driver. I don't know what happened exactly. It was only after we arrived here that the commander-in-chief took out a jade pendant. After forming a seal, we found out that there was a barrier here. We sent people to the bottom of the sea to search for it. Later on, someone found the sheepskin scroll there." Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that if she wanted to know more, she had to grab hold of the goateed man. Yun Chujio suddenly raised her hand and knocked Zhao Wu unconscious on the ground. Then she dived into the sea. In the distance, people from the Yongxing Trading Company had already swam over. C2G was swimming at the front. When he saw Yun Chujio, he was stunned. When he thought of his own trading ship ramming the pirates, he immediately suspected that Yun Chujio was a member of the Fishbone Gang. He raised his hand and shot out several wind blades. The speed of the wind blades was much slower in the water than on land. Yun Chujio easily dodged the wind blades. Then, she raised her hand and shot out a small bolt of purple lightning toward C2G. C2G was stunned. What was this thing? Lightning? Why was it still purple? Was it a heavenly lightning spirit root? Wait, why was it so slow? C2G did not take the small purple lightning seriously at all. He thought to himself, at such a slow speed, he would be able to dodge it once it got closer. Thus, he did not dodge immediately. Instead, he sent out a few more wind blades towards Yun Chujio. After Yun Chujio dodged the blades, she sent out a few more purple lightning bolts. She saw that there were people from the Yongxing Trading Company swimming over in front of her, and she also sent out a few purple lightning bolts towards them. Those people were the same as C2G. They felt that although those purple lightning bolts were rare, their speed was so slow that they had no power at all. They curled their lips in disdain, and one after another, they shot wind blades and water arrows at Yun Chujio. Ever since Yun Chujio fought the bloodthirsty sword shark, she felt that these wind blades and water arrows were like child's play, and she easily dodged them. C2G and the others were very surprised. This kid's spiritual power seemed to be only at the 5th level of the spirit cultivator realm. Why was he so agile in the water? Just as C2G was shocked, he suddenly noticed that the purple lightning suddenly sped up and rushed toward him. Fear suddenly enveloped C2G. Why did the lightning suddenly accelerate? He quickly dodged the bolt again. What happened next surprised him even more. Those purple lightning bolts actually changed directions. They rushed towards him again. C2G thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. How was this possible? How could these lightning bolts change direction? This doesn't make sense. Chapter 8:14. An ace up their sleeve. C2G was stunned for a moment. Then, he quickly sent out a few wind blades to block the purple lightning. The purple lightning was consumed by the wind blades before it dissipated. Although it did not hurt him, C2G was still shocked by what happened. This kid was too strange. He had never seen or heard of a spiritual power attack that could change directions while in the water. The people of the Yongxing Trading Company arrived one after another. C2G gestured to them to surround and attack Yun Chujio. Countless water arrows and wind blades shot towards Yun Chujio. She calmly sank into the water and dodged the attack. At the same time, she raised her hand, and the surrounding seawater turned black. Ever since she had fought with the bloodthirsty sword shark, she gave a new task to Furry, which was to make various dyes. The people of the Yongxing Trading Company had never seen a person like Yun Chujio who did not play by the rules. They were dumbfounded by her actions. The seawater in front of them was pitch black, and everyone was blinded. However, the lightning could still track its targets. After a few moments, several people from the Yongxing Trading Company let out miserable cries. They ended up swallowing their waterproofing beads so they could only paddle as hard as they could to reach the surface before drowning. They no longer had the time to go after Yun Chujio. Seeing this, C2G quickly gestured for everyone to get on the boat. It was really disadvantageous for them in the water. Yun Chujio would not give them a chance to get on the boat. She waved her hands repeatedly, and several little lightning bolts chased after them. The people from the Yongxing Trading Company had no choice but to use wind blades and water arrows to dissolve the lightning bolts. This slowed them down considerably. However, they had the advantage in numbers, and there were more of their people swimming over one. Fortunately, the people of the Fishbone Gang had also caught up. Although they were all injured, they were much more agile in the water than the people of the Yongxing Trading Company. Moreover, they had almost died at the hands of the people of the Yongxing Trading Company, so they naturally would be eager to repay the favor. C2G and the 4 Spirit Emperor rank guard commanders surrounded Yun Chujio. As long as they took down this little brat first, the rest of the people had nothing to be afraid of. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes. She waved her hand and sent out several bolts of purple lightning. At the same time, she summoned 5 immortal swords and commanded them to attack the 5 of them. These 5 immortal swords had already accepted their fate. This brat was a shameless liar. She said that she would cancel the contract after she left the ancient sword tomb. However, it had been so long. Not only did she not cancel the contract, but she was also ordering us around. She was too shameless. However, they were dissatisfied and did not dare to resist. The moment they showed any signs of resistance, they would be scratched by the little silver dragon. They were on the verge of breaking down. C2G and the others were also on the verge of breaking down. Fuck. Who was this little brat? This was too strange. Not only was his spiritual power attack able to change directions, but he could also command 5 spiritual weapons at the same time. He was too scary. If they had known that the Fishbone Gang had such an ace up their sleeve, they would have gotten off their high horse and let them leave. It was too late to regret now. An hour later, Yun Chujio and the Fishbone Gang began to gain the upper hand. The people of the Yongxing Trading Company gradually lost. As C2G was heavily injured by Yun Chujio, the rest of his crew began to lose their fighting spirit and express their willingness to surrender. Yun Chujio asked Yu Hai to lead people to imprison the spirit energy of the people of the Yongxing Trading Company and drag them to the large ship of the Yongxing Trading Company. After everyone boarded the large ship of the Yongxing Trading Company, Yun Chujio asked Fatty Wang to go to the cockpit to wake up Zhao Wu and return to the ship. Chapter 8:15. The red spider lily reappears. Yun Chujio took out a pill to stop the bleeding and fed it to C2G. Then, she took out a chair from her storage ring and sat down with a swagger. The members of the Fishbone Gang looked at Yun Chujio with a dumbfounded expression. They never expected that it was this young man who saved them in the end. Yu Hai cupped his fists at Yun Chujio and said, "Young hero, I have failed to recognize the talent in our midst. I hope you will forgive me for offending you in the past." Yun Chujio waved her hand and said, "Those who don't know better will not be blamed. Moreover, you even saved me on the boat. Considering that we are even now, I will leave these people to you. Their belongings will also be yours to take. However, I will handle C2G." Yu Hai hastily agreed. He was already very satisfied with being able to keep his life, but now he was very happy his crew was given the additional loot. Yun Chujio got someone to wake C2G up with a splash of seawater. Then she crossed her legs and asked, "Do you want to hand over the sheepskin scroll yourself, or do you want me to search for it myself after I kill you?" At that moment, C2G had no way of asking for help, so he did not want to cause any trouble. He obediently handed over the sheepskin scroll in his storage ring. Yun Chujio opened it and took a look. This was a map. There was a cinnabar mark in one spot, but it did not indicate exactly where it was. She frowned. "What's the use of this map? How do you know how to break the enchantment? And who asked you to look for what was in this map?" "Young hero, I'm just following my orders. The boss gave me a jade token and the method to form a seal, so I brought people here to find what was on the map. I don't know anything else." C2G was very honest and spilled everything to avoid angering Yun Chujio. "Give me the jade token and show me the hand gesture to form the seal." C2G demonstrated the hand gesture and then handed a jade token to Yun Chujio. After Yun Chujio memorized the hand gesture for the seal, when she saw the jade token that C2G handed over, she was shocked. On the back of this jade token, there was a pattern of the red spider lily. Another jade token depicting the red spider lily? Last time, I searched for the map in the Chimeric Plains. This time, it appeared in the Endless Sea while I was also searching for a map. Could this be related to the Eye of the Earth? Fortunately, I managed to obtain the map by accident. If it really was the Eye of the Earth's map, then it would be really bad. It seemed that the Yongxing Trading Company's owner was also related to the Red Spider Lily faction. It was just that she didn't know whether he was someone important or just a pawn. How many guards does your Yongxing Trading Company have other than you? How strong are they? What is the cultivation level of your owner? Yun Chujio thought for a moment and asked C2G. Because of this mission's importance, most of our guards came along. There are less than 30 people left in the trading company. Among them, there are 5 spirit emperors and the rest are all spirit cultivators. Our owner is at the 5th level of the spirit emperor realm. Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. A person at the 5th level of the Spirit Emperor realm could be someone who played a significant role in all this. She hoped that she could find some useful clues. Yun Chujio had nothing more to ask, so she looked at C2G with a smile. You are very cooperative. To repay you, I will give you a quick death. Before Situji could react, Yun Chujio raised her saber and slashed down, killing Situji on the spot. Neither the Fishbone Gang nor the people of the Yongxing Trading Company had expected Yun Chujio's actions. This kid's personality was too ruthless. The reason why Yun Chujio did this was partly to create an example, and partly to intimidate the Fishbone Gang so that they would not even consider betraying her. Chapter 8:16. I am the most honest person. Yun Chujio put away Situzi's storage ring, then kicked his body into the sea. Leader Yu, what do you plan to do with the rest of these people? When the people from Yongxing Trading Company heard Yun Chujio's words, they almost fainted from fear. This little devil wouldn't want to kill us too, right? Spare us! Chief, you spare us! Young hero, spare us! We are all just trying to earn money to support our families. We are only taking money from others to help them solve their problems. We don't have any personal grudges against you. Spare us. Yu Hai pondered for a moment. Young hero, there are a few people here who have committed all kinds of evil. I have already killed them. Although the remaining people have done some immoral things, they are still just doing their job as mercenaries. It's better to forget about it. Yun Chujio looked at him with a faint smile. Being soft-hearted is a strength, but it is also a fatal weakness. Can you guarantee that they will not become your enemies in the future? Those people from the Yongxing Trading Company wished they could sew Yun Chujio's mouth shut. Damn! You little pervert, must you be so insistent on killing us? Young hero, Chief Yu, I swear that if I, Zhao Wu, attempt to take revenge on the Fishbone Gang and the young hero in the future, my soul will be scattered to the void and I will never be reincarnated. Young hero, I also swear. If I, Luanan, take revenge on you and the Fishbone Gang in the future, I will be struck to death by lightning. I also swear on my life. When Yun Chujio saw that these people had all made harsh vows, so she smiled and said, Why are you all so nervous? I was just speaking casually. I am the most honest person here, don't be afraid. The corners of everyone's eyes twitched. Honest? Stop joking. The lightning you threw at us was already not normal, how could you be? If we believed that, then pigs would fly. Zhao Wu knelt and crawled a few steps. Young hero, I have done everything you asked me to do. Can you reward me with the antidote? Yun Chujio glanced at him. She took out a pill from her storage ring and tossed it to him. Eat it and you'll be fine. I always keep my word. If I say I won't kill you, I won't kill you. However, isn't this the same as betraying the Yongxing Trading Company? Aren't you afraid of their reprisal? Also, sect leader Yu, your Fishbone Gang has become enemies with the Yongxing Trading Company. What do you plan to do next? Yun Chujio was a wicked person. Naturally, she would not let the owner of the Yongxing Trading Company off. However, she was alone, and having a guide would be helpful. She had the intention to ask the Fishbone Gang to help her. However, it would be too embarrassing to ask them for help, so it would be best if they brought it up themselves. As expected, after a discussion with the other Fishbone Gang members, Yu Hai said, Young hero, since the remaining members of the Yongxing Trading Company are as strong as us, we have decided to go after them. I also heard that you also wanted to find the owner of the Yongxing Trading Company. Why don't we join forces and fight as one? Yun Chujio looked at the guards of the Yongxing Trading Company non-committally. What about you guys? What are your plans? The guards who were quick-witted immediately understood Yun Chujio's intentions and immediately said, We are willing to help the young hero and Chief Yu destroy the Yongxing Trading Company. The rest of them also echoed the same sentiment when they saw this. They hoped that the Yongxing Trading Company would be destroyed so that they would not suffer any reprisal from the company for their betrayal. The owner's methods were very vicious, and if they were caught by him, it would be the end of them. Only then did Yun Chujio slowly say, All right, since all of you insisted, then I will reluctantly cooperate with all of you. The corners of everyone's eyes twitched. What an amazing actor! This was your plan all along. Chapter 8:17. Wait for me. Yun Chujio examined the current group of people. A few members of the Fishbone Gang had been killed or injured, and the rest of the Yongxing Trading Company were all guards at the level of spiritual masters. The commanders committed all kinds of evil deeds, so they were all killed by Yu Hai. The abilities of those here were on par with the rest of the people in the Yongxing Trading Company. However, it was not her style to use knives and guns openly. It would be best if she could complete the task without anyone knowing. That would be considered more elegant. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and came up with a plan. She babbled about her plan to everyone. While everyone nodded their heads repeatedly, they swore in their hearts that they would not offend this kid no matter what. This kid was full of evil intentions. His heart was made up of pure darkness. Half a month later, Yun Chujio finally saw the long coastline. She was so happy that she almost jumped up. Damn, it had been more than 2 months, and they had finally left the sea. At this time, everyone on the ship had changed into the clothes of the Yongxing Trading Company. However, some of them still wore straw hats. However, when fishermen went out to sea, they also dressed like this for protection against the sun and wind. Therefore, some of the onlookers did not feel that something was wrong. After Yun Chujio got off the ship, the first thing she did was to secretly take out a voice transmission talisman. Sure enough, it could be used. She excitedly said with her spiritual sense, "Prince Charming, I'm now in Wanghai City near the Endless Sea. Wait for my return. I love you." What? Di Baiming had been waiting at the spot near the ancient sword tomb. Although he firmly believed that nothing would happen to Yun Chujio, as time passed, the worry and self-doubt in his heart gradually grew. He could only continue to cultivate to temporarily distract himself. When he felt the sound transmission talisman in his storage ring tremble, he thought that he had hallucinated. He took out the sound transmission talisman as his hands trembled and sent his divine sense into it. The moment he heard Yun Chujio's voice, tears began to flow. Little Jio, she was not dead. He knew that little Jio would be fine. Shui Wuji and Di Baiming had guarded the spot while waiting for Yun Chujio's return. Seeing Di Baiming suddenly like that, he grabbed Di Baiming's neck collar and shouted, "Is there any news about little sister Jio? Tell me quickly. Where is she now?" In the past 4 months, the first thing Shui Wuji did when he opened his eyes was to scold Di Baiming. If he did not scold Di Baiming for a day, he would feel that something was missing. Di Baiming's heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. He did not refute and allowed Shui Wuji to scold him as much as he wanted. Although Di Baiming did not like Shui Wuji as usual, he saw that Shui Wuji cared about Yun Chujio as much as he did. He could only say, "Little Jio said that she is in Wanghai City of the Endless Sea." The Endless Sea? Wanghai City? Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Let's go and pick up little Jio. Little Jio is so good-looking. She's just a weak girl. Others might mistreat her. Without waiting for Di Baiming to react, Shui Wuji had already summoned his flying spirit tool in a hurry and flew away. And Feng was relieved when he heard that Yun Chujio was fine. However, he did not agree with Shui Wuji when he said that she was a weak girl and that she would be bullied. The 9th Miss was full of cunning and wit. How could others bully her? If anything, it would be better if she did not end up bullying others. Di Baiming held the voice transmission talisman and did not know what to say. In the end, he only said 3 words, "Wait for me." When Yun Chujio received Di Baiming's voice transmission talisman, she could not help but twitch her lips. This Tsundra was as proud as ever. Does he not know how to say something more romantic? I'm going to teach him a lesson when we meet. Chapter 8:18. We are all on the same side. Yun Chujio followed the people of the Yongxing Trading Company and swaggered into the back hall of the Yongxing Trading Company. Although there were several guards guarding the back hall, they were fooled by Yun Chujio and the people of the Fishbone Gang due to the disguises they wore. Under the guidance of one of the guards, Yun Chujio found the study room where the owner of the Yongxing Trading Company was. Yun Chujio knocked on the door politely and imitated Si Tuzi's voice. "Owner, your subordinate is back. Come in. How's the matter I sent you to take care of?" A low voice said. Yun Chujio pushed the door open and sauntered into the room. She saw an old man sitting behind the desk. He looked like a dog. "Who are you? Why are you wearing our company attire?" The old man looked at Yun Chujio suspiciously and then shouted. Yun Chujio took off her hat and said with a smile, "We were fated to meet each other. We are both working for powers beyond our own. Our meeting was inevitable." The old man was stunned and then sneered, "I have no idea what you are talking about. You broke into my study. Now die." The old man was about to make his move when Yun Chujio shouted, "The red spider lilies. The eye of earth." The old man was stunned. He looked at Yun Chujio suspiciously. "What do you mean? How do you know those names?" "Big brother, you're too cautious. Other than our own people, who else knows about this?" To be honest, I had already obtained a sheepskin scroll map some time ago. Unfortunately, it wasn't requested by the higher-ups. That was why I came to the Endless Sea. I didn't expect to meet people from your Yongxing Trading Company also going after the same thing. I did not know that we had the same goals. Only after killing Si Tuji and after seeing the jade token in his storage ring did I realize that I had made a mistake. Brother, it's not my fault for not knowing. You won't blame me, right? Yun Chujio sat on the chair beside her and crossed her legs as she said indifferently, "What? You killed Si Tuji? Where is the thing that he found?" The old man clearly cared more about the objective than the fate of his subordinates. "Big brother, why are you in such a hurry? I won't steal your limelight. We're all on the same side. Do you have to be so vigilant against one of your own?" The old man took a deep breath. This brat said that he has the same objective as me. Could it be that he's working for the same forces that I am? Big brother, let's not beat around the bush. I found a sheepskin scroll in a hidden cave, and I only found it because I was given a map from certain people with similar goals. This time, you were able to find the sheepskin scroll in the enchantment array at the bottom of the sea because the higher-ups in the shadows guided you, right? TSKSK, the higher-ups pay more attention to you than to me. They even taught you how to break the enchantment. At that time, I completely relied on the abilities of my companions to get past it, said Yun Chujio with a slightly mocking tone while she played with the jade token with the red spider lily in her hand. Hearing Yun Chujio's words, the old man lowered his guard a little. He said with some pride, "The Endless Sea is not as dangerous as the mainland. Understandably, the higher-ups take better care of me." "That's true. I admire you for being the overlord of this region in Wanghai City. At the time, the person who gave me the map was a man wearing a black mask. Judging from his level, he didn't seem to be someone very important. Could it be that the person who contacted you is much higher up the ladder?" When the old man heard Yun Chujio's question, he became suspicious again. However, when he saw that Yun Chujio was very calm, he paused and said, "I don't really know the rank of the emissary. However, he was wearing a silver mask." Chapter 819. The Faction Pulling the Strings, a Silver Mask? That must be of a higher rank than the black-masked man I met. It seems that the higher-ups value Big Brother much more than me. It makes me envious. The emissary would give me a bottle of pills every time. I wonder what other good things did he give to you other than pills? Yun Chujio asked with an envious look. Ever since the old man had joined that organization, no one had been told about this secret. It felt like if a person had made a fortune but had no one to show it off to. It would inevitably be uncomfortable to be the only one who knew of the secret for such a long time. Therefore, after he met Yun Chujio, although he was still wary of her, he was all too eager to share the joy in his heart. He then said with a slightly proud tone, "1 bottle? The envoy only gave you 1 bottle of pills?" The envoy gave Big Brother at least 3 bottles of pills each time. To be honest, the reason why the Yongxing Trading Company's guards have such high spiritual power is that I mixed those pills with other types before giving it to them to consume. Yun Chujio's eyes revealed an envious expression. 3 bottles? Looks like you'll have to thank Big Brother for taking care of me in the future. Your future in the organization seems safe. The higher-ups only told me to look for the map and didn't arrange any other tasks for me. Since they seem to favor you, could it be that they also arranged other tasks for you? The old man said arrogantly, "It's not really a task, but just to recruit talents." Recruit talents? Oh my God. Big Brother, does the organization want to establish a branch and let you be the leader? Yun Chujio stood up from her chair in surprise. The old man could not hide the pride on his face. The last time the emissary came, he showed the intention to establish one. Our endless sea is far away from the central continent. He said that it was time to raise a force that can stand shoulder to shoulder with the four great sects. Yun Chujio repeatedly cupped her fists. Congratulations. Congratulations. In that case, won't I have to address you as Lord Sect Leader in the future? Ha! It's still too early for little brother to say this. I wonder what plans little brother has in the future? When the old man thought of the plans for the future of the Yongxing Trading Company, his guard was almost completely lowered. In his opinion, how capable could this fifth-level spirit cultivator kid be? Even if he harbored evil intentions, he could not do much against him. Me? Sigh. To be honest, after I handed in the map last time, the emissary has not contacted me. I tried to send him a voice transmission talisman, but he ignored me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come to this endless sea to relax. Yun Chujio said with disappointment. Little brother, if that's the case, let me keep the jade token and map first. You can stay with me in the future. If big brother gets rich, I will treat you well. Yun Chujio handed the map and the jade token that she had scribbled onto the old man from her storage ring and said, Brother, this map doesn't look like the eye of the earth. I'm afraid you'll have to continue searching. The old man took the map and looked at it. He didn't see any flaws. After keeping the map and the jade token, he said, We're all just following orders. We will just hand it over to the emissary when the time comes. Brother, to tell you the truth, ever since I ended up getting involved in this, I have been in a state of excitement all day. How do you think those higher-ups got so powerful? After eating the pill, one's spiritual power suddenly increases. And those maps, how did they find out about them? They are too powerful. The emissary once mentioned that the master is an incredible figure. Even the mighty figures of the Tianyuan continent are not a match for our master, much less so for those of the Azure Mystic continent. Chapter 820. Digging for information. When Yun Chujio heard the old man's words, her heart skipped a beat. Even the mighty figures of the Tianyuan continent were not a match for that dog-shit master? Then who exactly was he? Big brother, let me tell you something from the bottom of my heart. You must not tell anyone else, Yun Chujio said mysteriously and also activated an isolation array. The old man was also interested. Little brother, tell me everything. Don't worry. I will not tell anyone else. Big brother, since you said that our master is so awesome that he could destroy the four great sects with a flick of his finger, why didn't he go and look for the eye of the earth himself? Why did he ask us to look for it? Yun Chujio asked in puzzlement. The old man pondered for a moment and then said, Well, perhaps our master is too busy. He should have more important things to do. As his subordinates, we should do our best. Big brother, what you said makes some sense. I wonder when the Lord Emissary will come over? If you help introduce me to him, I will also climb up the ranks. Brother, if I make it big, I will not forget your kindness in helping me. Yun Chujio said in an obsequious manner. The old man's eyes flickered. The emissary is in my residence. However, the emissary does not like to meet outsiders. I will put in a few good words for you. I understand. I know there are some difficulties in dealing with this situation, big brother. If you don't want me to meet the emissary, then so be it. When the time comes, please put in a good word for me. The higher-ups think highly of big brother after all. The emissary I contacted always comes and goes in a hurry. This silver-masked emissary is willing to stay in your residence. It's a great honor. Did big brother arrange for him to stay in the guest house? He's not picky? The old man smiled mysteriously. Little brother, that is because you're too young. Of course, you have to cater to his interests. To be honest, this silver-masked emissary has taken a fancy to a concubine of mine called Yin Hong. This woman is expendable to me, not to mention that she's only a concubine. Every time he visits, he'll let my Yin Hong accompany him. Naturally, he'll leave happy. He'll also put in a good word for me to the higher-ups. Brother, you're really willing to do whatever it takes. I admire you. I admire you. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart, "You old bastard, you're so smug even when you're treating your concubine this way. You're shameless." The old man laughed proudly. "Little brother, you're still young. You'll understand how complicated things can be between people in the future. Big brother, I accidentally found something interesting at the bottom of the sea. Come here, I'll show you." Yun Chujio said mysteriously. The old man's eyes lit up, and he came over without any reservations. He did not expect Yun Chujio to suddenly raise her hand, and a big bag of chili noodles fell on the old man's body. Almost at the same time, Yun Chujio threw a bolt of lightning at the old man. It happened in a flash, and before the old man could react, his eyes were covered in chili noodles that were so hot that he couldn't open them. However, he had a defensive spirit tool on him, so Yun Chujio's lightning did not harm the old man. Yun Chujio released Little Black Bird and the others, and the four began to gang up on the old man who was rubbing his eyes. Although the old man's spiritual power was 2 levels higher than Yun Chujio's combat strength could not be measured by common sense. Moreover, Little Black Bird and the other 2 silly munchkins were helping her. The old man was also temporarily blinded, and so 2 sides were evenly matched. Although Yun Chujio had just activated the isolation array, she still felt that it was better to end the battle as soon as possible. Therefore, she decided to use her trump card. As she struck at the old man with lightning, she summoned 5 immortal swords and had them flung towards the old man. Chapter 821. Howl, Little Red. 5 immortal swords were summoned to fight. Even though they were unwilling to, they did not dare disobey Yun Chujio. They could only vent their anger on the old man and stab him with all their might. What the fuck? We stayed in there peacefully and were content. If you did not provoke the little devil, we would have been left alone in peace. It's all your fault. We're going to stab you to death. The more the old man fought, the more frightened he became. Who is this brat? How did he become so powerful? Not only did he have the heavenly thunder root spirit, but those spiritual pets were also very difficult to deal with. The most important thing was how could he command 5 flying swords at the same time? His spiritual sense was too powerful. Brat, there is no enmity between us. Why are doing this? As long as you stop, we can still talk. The old man was forced into a sorry state by the 5 immortal swords. He wanted to placate Yun Chujio and then think of a way out of the situation. Yun Chujio responded to him with a few bolts of lightning. What a joke. They already had a falling out. Moreover, I have already found out what I needed to know. What's the point of keeping you around? Howl, Little Red. Yun Chujio suddenly shouted at the flaming 3-tailed Fox King. The flaming 3-tailed Fox King's mouth twitched violently. Although so much time had passed, it was still unable to accept the name Little Red. Moreover, what did she mean by howl? The full name was Celestial 9-Tail Howl. How did such a powerful technique sound so boring after she said it? The flaming 3-tailed Fox King ridiculed Yun Chujio as it howled. The old man was already unable to withstand it. After being distracted by the enchanting roar, it was inevitable that he would reveal an opening. How could Yun Chujio let go of such a good opportunity? A bolt of lightning struck the old man's right arm. The old man cried out in pain. Before he could recover, a flying sword was thrust towards his face. He hurriedly dodged, but he did not expect another flying sword to stab towards his abdomen. The old man dodged again, however, he was stabbed in the back by a sword hidden behind him. Immediately after, the other swords flew over and stabbed at the old man's vital parts. The old man gasped as he took in his last breath of air. Yun Chujio put away the old man's storage ring and isolation array disc before she swaggered out of the study. At that moment, the Fishbone Gang members had already subdued all the guards around the study. The remaining commanders of the Yongxing Trading Company were all stationed elsewhere, which saved them a lot of trouble. Yun Chujio called over one of the subdued guards. Take me to the courtesan called Yin Hong. Leave half of your men behind. The rest of you follow me. That guard had helped the concubine called Yin Hong before. He led the way while Yun Chujio and the Fishbone Gang followed him to a small courtyard. Yun Chujio gestured to them to get in position around the courtyard. Then, she activated the concealment talisman and entered the courtyard. When everyone saw that Yun Chujio had disappeared, they could not help but turn pale from fright. How did this person suddenly disappear? Could it be that he had a concealment talisman? Heavens, just who was this young man? There were too many unimaginable things happening to him. Even though Yun Chujio had already activated the concealment talisman, she was afraid that the silver-masked emissary's cultivation level might be higher than the 5th layer of the Spirit Emperor realm, so she still restrained her aura and carefully went to the window. "Beauty, come, drink with me again." A slightly hoarse voice said, "My lord, I can't drink anymore. If I drink more, I'll start feeling dizzy." The voice that replied was delicate. "That should be In Hong." "Dizzy? If you feel dizzy, we can go to bed," Yun Chujio pouted. That silver-masked emissary was shameless. She carefully made a small hole in the window paper and peeped inside. Chapter 8:22. The silver-masked emissary. A man wearing a silver mask and a delicate woman were drinking wine. The man said that he was pouring her more wine, but in reality he was lewdly touching the woman with an evil smile. Yun Chujio could not see through the man's spiritual power level. It should be higher than the 3rd level of the spiritual emperor realm, but since he did not notice her, she estimated that he was at most at the 5th level of the spiritual emperor realm. Yun Chujio felt more confident knowing that. Yun Chujio suddenly kicked open the door and threw a bolt of lightning at the silver-masked man. A light flashed on the silver-masked man's body and blocked Yun Chujio's attack. The silver-masked man immediately sobered up and shouted in fear, "Who is it?" Yun Chujio saw the confusion in the silver-masked man's eyes as they darted around. She was delighted. It seemed that he could not see her at all. This was easy to deal with. "I can't kill you yet." Yun Chujio took out a rolling pin and circled behind the silver-masked man. She hit the silver-masked man with the rolling pin. The silver-masked man felt the blow coming and knew it was too late for him to dodge. He simply pulled In Hong over and used her as a shield. Although Yun Chujio held back a little, In Hong's spiritual power was low, so how could she withstand the blow? She choked on her blood and died. The silver-masked man took advantage of the moment to jump towards the door. He wanted to escape, but he suddenly stumbled and almost fell to the ground. He wanted to rush out of the door again but heard the sound of wind coming from behind him again. He could only dodge and avoid Yun Chujio's attack. Yun Chujio waved her hand and threw another bolt of lightning at the silver-masked man. The silver-masked man was very passive. He could not see where Yun Chujio was at all. He could only rely on the fluctuations of spiritual power and sound to determine Yun Chujio's position. 15 minutes later, the man was hit on the knee by Yun Chujio's rolling pin. He collapsed on the ground with a scream. Yun Chujio only showed up after she had restrained his spiritual power. Then she took off the silver-masked man's mask. His face was still plain and unremarkable. Yun Chujio not only complained in her heart but also thought to herself, why can't the other side's forces pick the handsome ones? Why did they always pick someone who looked ordinary? Just as the silver-masked man was about to take the poison and commit suicide, Yun Chujio sneered and pinched his chin to remove the poison. Then she struck the back of his neck with her palm and dragged him out of the house. "You Hai, take some people with you to clean up the rest of the compound. Then meet me in the study." "Yes." Yu Hai was now in awe of Yun Chujio from the bottom of his heart. He immediately led his men to clean up the remaining people still unaware of what happened. Yun Chujio dragged the silver-masked man to the back of the study and activated the isolation array. A basin of cold water was poured on the silver-masked man. "Do you want to remove the spiritual imprint of the storage ring yourself, or do you want me to forcibly remove it for you?" Yun Chujio sat on the chair with her legs crossed and asked. The silver-masked man sneered, "I'm warning you, you'd better release me immediately. Otherwise, it won't be just you but your family as well who will suffer the consequences." Yun Chujio laughed out loud. "What big words! You think you're capable of that? You're just a lecher. I think that old man was better than you are. At least he still dreamed of establishing a sect that is on the same level as the 4 great sects. He's just a dog. Kid, if a silver-masked emissary dies, the higher-ups will find out immediately. By then, even if you run to the ends of the earth, they will still find you. The silver-masked man said arrogantly. Who are you lying to? You're making it sound like they are omniscient. It's not like they have clairvoyant powers. How would they know if you're dead? Yun Chujio asked disdainfully. However, her heart was moved. The forces behind the Red Spider Lily faction are very strange. They might have a way to do what he just said. I have to find out more about them. Chapter 823. Little Red continued to howl. Clairvoyant? Our master's ability is much stronger than that of the clairvoyant. Not to mention the Azure Mystic Continent. Even if you kill me in the Tianyuan continent, our master will know who killed me. Kid, are you scared? Let me go immediately and forget everything. Otherwise, you'll be waiting to be exterminated. The silver-masked emissary sneered and said a few times. Wow, what you said is quite mysterious. However, you forgot one important thing. Only when I kill you can that dogshit owner of yours discover who the murderer is. What if I don't kill you? It'll torture you slowly. It'll make you wish you were dead instead of alive. I usually don't have any hobbies. I just like to research how to torture people. I've already developed 81 ways to torture people. Do you want to hear them? For example, I can cut a small cut on your body and run salt water through it. Or I can smear honey on your wound and let the stone-eating ants relieve your boredom. Or I can castrate you and make you a eunuch forever. As Yun Chujio spoke, the man's face became paler and paler. This kid was young and his methods were too vicious. If he fell into his hands, he might as well bite his tongue and commit suicide. The silver-masked emissary wanted to bite his tongue and commit suicide at the thought of this when Yun Chujio said leisurely from the side, Do you want to bite your tongue and commit suicide? I've done my research. The so-called biting your tongue and committing suicide is all a hoax. Basically, you won't die. You'll only become a mute who can't speak. Why don't you give it a try? Anyway, I have good hemostatic pills here. I guarantee that you'll suffer. The silver-masked emissary was so angry that he was twitching. This pervert actually had the time to research such a problem. He snorted coldly and said, Sooner or later, the Azure Mystic Continent and the Tianyuan Continent will belong to our master. If you're sensible, then let me go. Otherwise, before the silver-masked emissary finished his words, Yun Chujio took out a handful of powder from her storage ring and sprinkled it on the man's knee. The man immediately screamed like a pig being slaughtered. You stinky brat, what did you sprinkle on me? TSK. I was just afraid that your wound would get infected, so I sprinkled some salt on it for you. I'm such a kind person, Yun Chujio said with a smile. The silver-masked emissary was so angry that he gritted his teeth. He wished that he could strangle Yun Chujio to death. You're kind? If you were kind, there would be no evil people in this world. Even if I were to compete with you, I would be 100 times kinder than you. You have seen it yourself. I have plenty of ways to torture you. Do you think that I can't do anything if you don't remove your spiritual sense imprint? It would be over for you once we find someone with a stronger spiritual sense than you. At that time, your spiritual sense will also be finished. Yun Chujio said faintly. The silver-masked emissary was dead. He could not die or escape. He could only surrender and remove the spiritual sense imprint on his storage ring. Yun Chujio immediately used her spiritual sense to search inside. Inside, there was only a jade token, a voice transmission talisman, and several bottles of pills. Yun Chujio frowned. It seemed that she still had to interrogate this silver-masked emissary. How do you know the method to remove the enchantment in the Endless Sea? And how do you know that there is a map there? Yun Chujio stared at the silver-masked emissary's eyes. Humph. Of course, the higher-ups informed me. Otherwise, how would I know? The man saw Yun Chujio holding a handful of chili noodles, so he had to answer her question. Yun Chujio saw that the man was very stubborn, so she was afraid that he would not answer the question truthfully. She rolled her eyes. Little Red, come out and continue howling. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.